from the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Ready to roll. Okay.
Today is Saturday, March 9th, 2013. My name is Will Griffin, and I am a research associate with the Southern Oral History Program at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Okay.
I am with videographer John Bishop in Albany, Georgia, on the campus of Albany State University to conduct an interview for the Civil Rights History Project, which is a joint undertaking of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and the Library of Congress. We are here today with Mr. Sam Young, Jr. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Young, and agreeing to share your story with the Civil Rights History Project.
Thank you.
All right. So I just want to begin, first off, by having you state your full name and tell when and where you were born.
Okay. My name is Samuel J. Young, Jr., and I was born in Worth County, Sylvester, Georgia. March 13, 1950.
Okay. March 3rd, 1950. Okay. So what was it like growing up? In 1950, you were right on the cusp of the Brown versus Board of Education. What else is going on? The Korean War is.
Well, in the 1950s, growing up, I was very aware of certain issues like the Board of Education thing, and my father, he was very political, and he always kept us abreast on different issues. But I did not understand what that was all about, during when he was telling me about it.
What was your father's name?
About the Board of Education,
Your father's name was Sam Young, Senior.
Right, Senior, right. He was Samuel J. Young, Senior. And he was very influential in the political scene. And he always kept us abreast about, different political issues that were going on around us.
Okay.
And he made us watch the news, every, day. So, and when it come time, when I really understood things was, after I, became older and had some of the issues face me, head on,
right.
And then I understood a lot of things, that he would be speaking of,
So like, for example, in Worth County, did you experience, any of the signs of racism or growing up in Worth County?
Yes, especially during school integration.
Okay.
Because when I went to, at that time, it was the freedom of choice. You had, if you wanted to go,
right.
That was one of the things that they did to keep people from actually
fully integrated.
Right.
Right. So you had the opportunity to go to a white school if you did, but you could remain in an all black school if you wanted to?
Right.
Okay.
And lots of my friends, they did exactly that. But I chose to go to with the freedom of choice things, chose to go to the other schools, the white schools.
Okay.
And when I started school, our schools was our churches in Worth County.
Right.
And we would walk every day back and forth, to school, and the school buses would come by, and as I remember, the children, would hang their heads out of the window,
right.
Calling us racial names and all that. But the bus would always meet at this past, I guess the timing when we got out of school, we would always be exactly about the same place. And, little kids, when somebody's messing with it, we threw rocks at the bus, Right. I mean, that's what we did. And the bus driver would put the lights on, brake lights. We see the brake lights come on.
Right.
And back in those days, they were during what they call turpentine, where they get the box, scrape the tree, and get the what they call gum, and they would make a lot of products
Right.
out of that. And the paths in the woods were always clear, and we just strike out through the woods. They never be able to catch it. You know, and when I went to school, when they did build schools in Worth County, my father said that I could not read. And I had a sister coming into the first grade at that same time. I was supposed to have been in the second grade. And we went through school together, you know, and everybody thought we were twins, but we're not.
Right.
My father kept me back because he said I could not read. And I'm very glad that he did that, because I probably couldn't. Looking at some of my grandchildren sometimes, and even my own kids, you know, I knew they were not qualified, you know, to read. And I'm glad he cared about that. And I had the kind of teachers that you didn't escape. There was no net. You had to get your lesson.
Right.
You know, and you had to. There was no cheating.
And you weren't just going to disappear in the back of the classroom.
Oh no, that was not going to happen. Right. And once I remember, I always tell my grandkids this story, you know, about trying to cheat. I was caught sitting on a spelling book, and the teacher came back to me. She said, "Young, are you cheating?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, stand up." And when I stood up, you know, the spelling book was right there. And she spanked me, and then I remember, you know, getting, you know, I guess, you know, upset, and said, "Well, you know, I'm going to tell my father. You know, I'm going to tell my mother." Now, those days, you know what she said? "Come on, let's go. I'll take you to it," because
we're going to see who's right.
I really didn't want that to happen.
So you were posturing.
Oh, but that's some of the things that happened. And when the schools integrated, you know, I'm under the impression that, you know, okay, that the white people are way smarter. I'm going into with this expectation,
Right.
you know, and I had it was a very awakening experience, you know. And then when you one other thing that my parent taught me, you never follow the crowd. Right. You were born an individual, and you will die an individual.
Right.
And that's one that I do that even today. Even though some issues might be, you know, if I decide to go along, it's just a universal thing that everything is, you know, good. Right. You know, and I'll go along. But if I got some issues with it, I would not do it. You know, just because of the group. Right. You know. And we had several incidents of racial things to happen. They came out to our church, some kids, you know, just basically kids doing things, you know, and they painted the front of our church, the same church that I grew up at, and you know, went to school and all that.
What was the name of the church?
Blue Spring Baptist Church in Warwick, Georgia.
Okay, good.
And
so they painted some things on
painted the church black and said, written that this is the house of the devil's den or something of that. But we found out that was one of the local vendors' son that did it. And he made him go back out, you know, and repaint the whole thing, you know, because of what he had did, you know. And we had some other incidents, you know. Matter of fact, two of my cousins were taken into custody at Worth County High because she and the white guy got into it, and she beat him. They came and arrested her right off the school bus, and they took them, brought them over. They were in Worth County. They brought them over to Albany at the youth detention center here.
Right.
And the sheriff would not tell my aunt where those kids were.
Was this Pritchard? Was this still Pritchard in Albany?
No,
was-
this
oh,
was
this-
in,
the sheriff
he
from
was,
Worth wouldn't
I
tell
think
you.
it was, at that time, I believe it was a Pritchard, but it was not the one here in
Okay.
Albany. I'm not sure whether they were related or not.
Right.
But at the time, Attorney C.B. King was a very prominent black lawyer here. And it was only, the children were out of place for 3 days before the sheriff would tell. He would not, my aunt went down to the jail. They would not tell her where her children were.
And your cousin can't be any more than 14, maybe 13?
Maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. And they took those 2 kids, and CB threatened to have the sheriff arrested. Mm-hmm. And at that point, he told where the children were, and they were over here in Albany. But beforehand, they would not release the location of where those children were.
Right.
And it was kind of scary because we were young, and when somebody take some part of your family and nobody's telling you where they are, and understanding some of the issues that were with black people going on all over the country, especially in the South. Mm-hmm. We were assuming as children that they might be deceased or something.
And this was the police, not just
so that was that. And I have seen a lot, not seen, but I have been in the presence of a lot of things. I even had some people that were shot because they were trying to break up a fight, and there was a guy that came out and just, shot him, but just because, I guess, he was the white guy.
And you were school aged at this time?
I was school aged, during that time, right. All these things happened. Mm-hmm. Lots of things happened. Then once, I remember my father was our Sunday school teacher also. And I remember one of the deacons, one of my, kids we all grew up with, our church family.
Right. And
he came to work, not to work, but he had been to work. And he got shot. The guy that he was working for, the son of that his employer wanted him to call him. This man was probably 3 times his senior because he was a teenager, but he wanted him to call him. The young guy wanted him to call him Mister. So he said, "No, I'm not going to call you Mister." And so the father, he went to the father and told the father about it. And the father, without asking my friend Snow's father anything about it, he just came out with his shotgun.
Wow.
And the only reason, I couldn't understand how another human being could do such things to one another,
Right.
But he got shot, and the only reason that he didn't get blinded or killed was he threw his hands up, as a shield. And I remember in Sunday school, he was telling about the story, and the buckshots. He had all the, the pellets and stuff where they, penetrated his skin and in his face,
So
but
this
he
guy
would
was
have been
aiming-
blinded.
He was aiming for his head.
Yeah, and it just it was some terrible times. It was some terrible times, and things may have changed, and they may not have changed.
Do you remember this guy's name at all? Who got shot?
His name was Albert Gill.
Albert Gill?
Oh, the one that got shot?
Yeah,
Oh, no, his name was C.T. Rockwell,
C.T. Rockwell. And Albert Gill was who?
the shooter.
Okay,
No, right.
good, yeah, Albert Gill.
But sometimes I think back. I have some embedded hatred for sometimes, but as I grow older, I look at things, and even though there was a lot of things, directed, the racial thing directed towards my father, because they were black landowners,
Right.
and loans were foreclosed, everything, and I remember there was a local white grocer that he also had a hardware store, and he extended my father a line of credit,
Right.
To farm with, and that's how we made it through those times, and my father rented our property to him for years. I never understood it, but after he quit farming, but see, for farming for young black men, and for the farm, the land and all that to be passed on to the black people, there was nothing, there was no, and then I look at now, even the farmers around us, their kids, generations of them, the land and the farming business is passed on and on to them, but there was no such thing for black people. And just recently, I guess, there are a lot of opportunities, after the ASCS office of, they got sued. They changed it to Farm Services now.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things out there that are, are good for, young black farmers. But I think, we went through an era where, farm was work.
Right.
And we don't want to put out that kind of.
And you learned it from your father?
Right.
Initially?
I grew up on the farm.
Okay.
Right.
What were some of the things?
And I was.
What were some of the things you planted?
Oh, we planted cotton, corn, peanuts, vegetables, squash, butter beans, peas, okra, and then we were our children. I'm from a large family, and
How many brothers and sisters?
I got 10 sisters. I had 10 sisters, and it was 7 brothers.
Whoa.
And I see when I think about it, we had the large family because we were going to be the ones to gather the crops and everything, which wasn't bad because I learned a lot of experiences about work. And I was the oldest son, and I had 2 sisters that were older than I am.
Okay.
And we all graduated from schools in Worth County. When the odds were basically against you receiving a pretty good education, or just receiving a diploma. Yeah, and I graduated. I was the only in 1968. It was when I graduated, and I think, as I remember, I might have been the only black male, in that group.
That class, wow.
It's probably about 4 or 5 black ladies.
What was the name of the school, high school you graduated from?
Worth County High in Sylvester, Georgia.
Okay, Worth County. So, and you graduated in 1968. And
68.
68, and that was a really critical time in 68, I suppose.
Very,
Right.
very critical.
The civil rights movement is supposedly ended, and the Black Power movement emerges.
And but if that was.
I'm sorry. Let's pause for just a second.
Yeah, the hard disk is full. We don't want to miss this.
Okay.
The 2 girls that were taken off the bus were my first cousins, Dorothy Young and Yvonne Young.
Okay. That's good.
Thanks.
All right. So we'll go back to 1968 and you're graduating, and again, this is a really critical time in African American
Yeah,
history. For the movement.
1968, I graduated, and after high school, my first public job that I had was there was a Firestone tire plant here, and I that was my first job,
Okay.
you know, and I ran into some pretty tough supervisors there,
Okay.
you know. So I changed. I didn't. They let me go, along with some other people. And then I found out about I had two older sisters that were working with the Southwest Georgia Project for community education.
Okay. Could you, I'm sorry, before you move on, could you just talk about those supervisors at Firestone when you
Oh,
say
they
tough?
were mean. They were pretty mean, and I'm working. You know, I'm working. I'm breaking a terrible sweat. You know?
Right.
And right out the high school, you know, I'm figuring you know, that's when I realized that I need some more education, because when I got out and I went on the job site, they were building the, you know, the farming, the building that was going to have some heavy machines sitting there, you know, the tire machine that's going to build the tires. And so the farms were way down, you know, like in the ground. You had to climb down there in a ladder, you know, and bust the farms up around the concrete.
Okay.
So I was thinking, well, you know, I'm educated, I got a high school, you know, but I'm going to be doing something. They gave me a pick and a shovel. And I had to go down there. And it was terrible, but I was working, but I guess I wasn't meeting that criteria or something. So I went, and then I worked with the Southwest Georgia Project from like 19 up until 83.
Okay.
I went to school because we said we were going to start a newspaper, you know, and I went to Albany Technical College to learn graphic art, you know, running machines and everything. But farming is what I love, you know. I grew up with it, and it's hard work, but you know it pays off, you know, when you do it right. And so I worked mostly with the farm part.
Could you tell us what the Southwest Georgia Project was? I mean, when you
It was a community education group, you know, and it covered the Southwest Georgia area. We had people, you know, in all of the counties that would come here, and it also had a scholarship program. We sent a lot of people to, you know, different colleges, got scholarships for them, and things like that.
Was this how you got into Albany Technical College? Did you get a scholarship through the Southwest Georgia Project?
Oh, yes, basically.
Okay. Okay. So who were some of the first people in the project that, you know, sort of showed you the ropes? Or who did you work under? Who did you work with?
I worked basically under Charles Sherrod, and there were other people. Some of them have deceased, has been, you know, since then. One of them was Randolph Battle. You know, he was a good mentor of mine, and I was young. You know, these guys like took me under their wing, taught me a whole lot of things. And another one was Robert Mance. I'm not sure. And he was another one that, you know, they took me in and taught me, you know, a lot of things about, you know, politics and, you know, how to handle things and all that. You know, I took it in because I was all ears, you know. I took it in, you know. And Mance passed maybe a couple of years ago. Well, not quite a couple of years. And we talked, and he had a heart attack. But, you know, we're talking about things that happened, and it was amazing that, you know, the kind of, where we have basically kind of reached a conclusion on a lot of things. You know, we were seeing basically down the road together on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure whether you all are familiar with Attorney Mary Young.
That name sounds familiar. Could you
Okay,
talk a
well,
little bit about it?
She was another champion for the civil rights movement in this area.
Okay. And her name was
She defended a lot of people, black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and she handled a lot of divorce cases and different things like that. And she worked as she came in under Attorney C.B. King when she first came to Albany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I met her last time in 2009.
right.
Okay.
And she was a real person.
Okay.
Real.
Okay. So let's talk about school then. For the graphic arts. And
Graphic art. It's the printing. You learn to run the printing presses. You learn to do the graphics like on this book. Pictures and stuff like that. And then you do the plates, the negatives, and you take it to the machine and you run them. And then typeset. You set the columns, all that. You learn some of that. But I never could do that because my hands were so
big.
long. I couldn't do that. So we always got somebody, to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So talk about, I guess, when you, the Southwest Georgia Project, when you got involved in farming and in the project.
I got involved in it. The Southwest Georgia Project, New Communities Incorporated, which was the land deal, was a project of the Southwest Georgia Project. And that's how I got involved in it. And we found Sherrod went to New York and found out that the land was for sale here in Southwest Georgia.
Southwest Georgia.
But nobody, it wasn't posted, but he found out about it up in New York.
Okay.
And he pursued the idea to the point where, funds was raised and then the acquisition of the land, was made.
So the idea was to purchase this huge
Purchase
tract
land and become, self-sufficient.
for black communities,
Right,
just create
exactly.
new communities. Okay. And your role in this, when did you finally secure the land? And
It had to be in 68,
okay,
1968.
so you were just graduating out of
High school, right out. I was right out
of.
of high school.
Okay.
But I still was also a member of the Southwest Georgia Project,
Right.
an active member. And that was good. We did a lot of things, and also we would have a lot of students come down from different states. A lot of youth. A lot of youth was involved in it too, and it was a great thing. It would have been even greater. But in the 70s, the FHA, I think that's what it is, FHA or the ASCS, they foreclosed on a lot of black farmers in the area.
Okay.
And that's basically what happened.
So how long? I mean, let's back up. You said these children were coming to the farms and they were learning.
People from the, like we come to our town and get a bunch of children to go out, and learn about farming, how to produce your own food, and pick it, take it to the market, or prepare it for, for the use in your freezer and stuff like that.
And so you're finally getting to do what you want to do now, right? You're showing your skills.
Right, that was basically the idea. And then we had about the money crop was the peanut crop. We had on that farm there was an allotment of over 300 and some acres, of peanut, and we had corn. We never did plant cotton. I don't understand. Well, we never did.
I probably understand why.
Nobody wanted to plant no cotton. It never happened.
Right.
But we had corn, vegetables, okra, lots of different things, watermelons,
Okay.
and stuff like that. And we would
Is it-
harvest them, take them to market. But during the time of well, are you familiar with the suit that
No, take us through that. Too.
so that was when they did the class action suit, the government against the I guess it was ASCS, or in other words, the federal government finally admitted that there was discrimination against black farmers. Okay, and we came under a class action suit, but it was years and years and years before anything actually it got any monetary value from that.
Okay.
So.
But by then it was too late. You really lost the farm.
Right, we had to buy some. I think Mary Sherrod and Charlie knows who bought some. They bought a new plot of land here in Doherty County, and they got a lot of things going on.
Okay.
With that now. But
But it wasn't like 2 years or 3 years.
excuse me.
It wasn't like 2 years or 3 years,
The
the suit.
The suit, how long did it take to materialize?
matter of fact, it was denied. It had to be sometime in the late 80s and maybe mid 90s.
Okay.
But the final thing came through in 2009, 8, 9.
So it was some time between.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was a long
Long time.
time. I mean, everybody basically had given up on receiving anything, and I think they had disqualified us as a farm because of all the other activities that we were doing, for the community and all the other ongoing projects we had going. But eventually, it came under, a new ruling. I can't. Well, Mary Sherrod or Charlie could tell you a lot more about it.
Okay.
I've forgotten,
Right.
lots of the stuff.
That's understandable. Could you? I'm trying to get a good vision of what this farm looked like and what you lost. You mentioned you had 300 acres of peanuts. Were there homes?
Okay.
What else?
It was dwellings out there. Matter of fact, I lived there from. I got married in '74 and moved my wife and my children. We moved on to the on site.
Right.
And there were several other people, also moved out. Some of them were South Georgia Project members, and some people from the local community, And we were the ones to, operate, the farm and do all that.
So were there homes already on the farm?
Right,
when
there
you
were
bought it?
existing homes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So they didn't do any extra building.
No,
Okay.
we didn't exist that long, But all that was in the planning of it, but we never could get any funds or nothing, to start that going.
Okay.
We were always denied, in other words. And these were, the '60s, and any time that black folk got you had control of something that was going to seem like better their lives, it just was not taken kindly by the locals and I guess some other people higher up, So that's what happened.
Okay. So since the project ended, what have you been doing? What did you?
What have I been doing?
What have you been doing?
Okay, I've been kind of just maintaining. I need to get back involved. Because there's just too many things that needs to be done. And in other words, well, I kind of got disinterested, somewhat, but there's a lot of things that I know that needs to happen, and I know I got a lot of potential, you know, to put input that I can put into some things, to, you know, because I look at the situation with our black youth, you know, there were things that, you know, we could be doing to make a difference, you know, here in Southwest Georgia, and probably, you know, over the nation, you know, because we had students coming from New York, Chicago, you know, so.
So you think you got, a lot of your disappointment was stemmed from, first
Right.
of all, losing the farm.
Right, exactly.
But, and after
Right.
decades of finally being righted, I mean, with the, when they finally made the decision that they
Right.
had.
And I probably will eventually. I saw one of the Mr. Sherrod. That's how I got directed to here. She was leaving out, and I guess it's just a coincidence. The lady was coming out of the parking lot, and I was asking her where was everything, and that was her. And I hadn't seen her in over 2 years. That's to show you, you know, how things
That's
go.
right.
You know, so that was kind of like an inspiration to me, you know, to you know, get back involved with, you know, things.
So you
know.
think that that's your next step? You're gonna
Right.
you'll get back in. Okay. So I guess the legacy of the Southwest Georgia project, I mean, it's still going. I'm not saying that it's ended.
Right, it's still there.
right.
It never, you know, it never deceased. You know, it never died out. It was always there. You know, and it was not inactive to the point. It always was something going on, you know, with it. You know, but I wasn't involved. You know, I kind of, you know, went my own separate way on it.
Okay. Is there anything else you think you might want to share that we should know about your experiences, the Southwest Georgia Project? Or any words of wisdom that you'd like to?
Words of wisdom. I would say sometimes, you know, you have to stand up sometimes, you know, because if you don't, you know, some decision can take you to the left or too far to the right. But you have to, you know, in other words, address the issues. Address it
head on.
then. Don't wait till later.
Okay.
You know, do it then. And then if it still goes that way, at least you be the made your, you know, had your presentation
your
about
say, right.
your discontent or whatever about the situation. You know.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. And well, Mr.
And
Young?
how long have we talked?
About 3 hours?
Yeah, it's about 3. So, Mr. Young,
There's a lot more, but
I'm sure. I mean, if you want, yeah, we have time. I mean,
no,
if
well,
the-
see, I was saying, I thought y'all was finna let me go. You know,
No, you were going to let you go, but then you said there was a lot more.
yeah, but
Okay, lock the door, will you?
no, but you know, and I guess I'm very on becoming involved with the Southwest Georgia project. You know, I were able to go just see a lot of things. You know, that I know that other kids my age, you know, had not seen. I was able to go to New York City, the Carolinas, lots of places, you know, and I learned also a lot of things there, you know. And
So that was a part of the project. They would take you around to places to strategically learn.
They would. There were different organizations that would send, you know, for people to come up and do some things, you know, teach different programs and stuff, different seminars, and I got a chance to get in on a lot of that.
Okay.
Matter of fact, one thing in New York, there was a thing called Schenectady, you know, where what they do, they teach you about solving problems and you know, in groups and stuff. They take you in just like I'm sitting here talking now, and they have you on camera, and then they give you a whole lot of scenarios, and you come up with the best one, you know, to get what they were doing was they were developing communication skill, you know, and how to do different things, how to solve different problems. And I went through that, and that was the first time I saw myself on camera. So that was interesting. That was very interesting. I learned a lot. And then you're supposed to bring it back, bring that, what you learned, back to your group, you know, and try to implement some of the things, you know, problem solving and things that are facing you, you know, apply that, what you learned from those, from their teachings, you know, a lot of it. And it's a lot, but it's coming back, but y'all gonna do me again sometime?
No, we do want to thank you for coming and sharing your stories. And,
well,
if there is an opportunity that you find that you want to share some more, we would definitely be willing.
But I'm very happy to tell my little microcosm of the story, you know, and hope it means something to someone, and hope some of it can be passed on, you know. So I'm very happy to have been a part of this, and I really thank you for this booklet here, because this is the kind of stuff that I like. Okay. So now this is mine. I put it in my bag.
That's right. All right. Thank you again, Mr. Young.
Okay, thank you all.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.